Clicks and buzzers. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode. Wait, I sound Irish.
That sounds Irish. What is that?
I was going to try to do a North Dakota accent, but it's not
You're
working.
from North Dakota. You shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, I know. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of TV's Horror Real Mom.
No, you gotta say,
Dave.
hey, fella. Hey, fella. I'm Catie.
Yes, welcome to another episode of TV's Real Mom. I'm Dave.
I'm Catie.
And you are listening to our weekly Fargo recap podcast in which we share our thoughts on the latest episode of the TV show Fargo, not the town.
There are episodes in that town, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. But anyways, we are well qualified to discuss Fargo because I personally am from the Fargo area, so that's cool. I also lived 7 years in Minneapolis, which is basically where this season takes place.
Which I didn't realize until I watched the episode.
Yeah, I didn't realize until they talked about St. Paul, and then Eden Prairie was the big one.
Yeah, I was very confused reading about the build-up to this season because they said it took place in Eden Valley. But the only Eden town I've heard of was Eden Prairie, which is where very affluent people live. That's where the Vikings train. Yeah,
it's like a richer part of Minneapolis.
Ritzy.
It's a richer suburb of Minneapolis, basically.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Why we're Fargo experts, but we're not really.
Well, we're not experts in like murder and small town crime, but
speak for yourself.
Hey now. But it is funny to watch a show about the area you call home. And I remember when the movie came out, all you heard was like, "Oh, you're from Fargo? Oh yeah, oh geez." Yeah, sure, you betcha. And it's fun to listen to the accents and try to like analyze them because it's very rare that someone actually gets it close to right.
There are good ones and bad ones in all 3 seasons so far.
And I don't associate the accent with the performance because typically, like Kirsten Dunst, her accent was awful, but she had a really good performance in season 2. I also thought Hansi, though he didn't speak much, was a pretty authentic accent. But Jeffrey Donovan, the guy who played Dodd, like what language was he speaking?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I always thought it was like a poor Native American kind of accent.
I'm not sure what he was going for, but
Jim Carrey has a stand-up impression of like a Canadian Native American guy, and it's like that's kind of what Dodd reminded me of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure what.
I know a lot of people from around this area that actually like get pissed off, like they won't watch Fargo because they're pissed off because we're like they're making fun of us. And like, to be honest, a lot of the extreme Fargo accents, they're
not far off.
They're not far off with some people around here, especially like newscasters,
local commercials. Ugh.
It's really weird that the people that are most in the public eye in North Dakota have the worst accents, so that they're really not
down to Barth Auto.
You do a really good one. I gotta work on.
I've had lots of years of listening to it.
You do a really good one. I gotta work on mine, but I don't get those people because it's like, for one thing, it's accurate. For another thing, it's funny, and for another thing, like, what about like Southern people? They've been getting like Southern
New Yorkers.
Yeah, Southern accents have been used like associated with like stupid people. Like, oh, if I'm gonna be dumb, I'm gonna have a Southern accent. Like, I'm stupid. Like it's like it could be worse. Like, and like they are making us out to look stupid. But it's all in good fun.
Not all of us. You have your good people like the Mollies and the Salverson cops of the world.
Wherever you go, there you are, man. Like there's good and bad people everywhere, and stupid people.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points of the show is that it's an area you typically don't associate with such darkness, but there's darkness everywhere, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So enough of the pretense. Let's jump.
I just want to say one part that made me LOL really hard.
Yeah.
Is when Rich Ewan McGregor, his name is Emmett, right?
Mm-hmm.
His wife, he gets called to the office in the middle of the night or late at night, and she goes, You're in your house shoes.
Yeah, your house shoes. He's like, oh, you're right. Yeah.
And then they zoom in on the house shoes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, that
Kill
was
me.
pretty funny. I mean, that's one of the greatest things about Fargo, the show, and the movie too. Like, is the humor. I think it's an underreported aspect of the show. Is it's like a very subtle humor, but it's very funny. Like Fargo is one of the funniest shows I've seen in a long time.
It packs a wallop of emotions, and it's usually, to me, it usually takes a few episodes to really start feeling the emotional impact of a season. Like, I remember the first season, I didn't super get into maybe till like halfway through, but then I like had to watch the whole rest of the season because I just couldn't stop. But I don't know where I was going with that.
But yeah, super interesting, Catie.
Yeah, I'm full of insight here. I'm gonna slip into my accent now and then. So
just keep doing it. It's great. I mean, feel free to slip into that as much as you want. I'm cool.
Yeah.
With it.
Okay. Sounds good. I need to get a pair of house shoes.
Yeah. So, yeah, my experience with the first season was I wasn't as into it, but I remember thinking it was a good show. And then you told me to go back and watch season 2. Recently, I did that, and I was blown away. I thought season 2 was like miles above season 1, but that's just me. From my understanding, most people feel they're both good. You know,
I think your sentiment is a common one.
I thought season 2 was excellent, like some of the best.
I thought they were both really good, but then, like I said, the first season took me a while, whereas the second season I was immediately hooked. Because how could you not be when she brings home a dead man and puts him in the freezer? It was hard not to be immediately hooked into that season.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst was really good in that season, I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah. She was a puzzle.
Let's talk about this season, season 3. We talked about a funny moment. Let's get into a little bit of plot here. So what do we know? Like, who are the big players? I mean, you really only have a focus on maybe a max of like 7 characters or something like that.
Yeah, I've read in some of the build up to the season that it's going to be smaller in focus, not quite as many characters.
Right, and maybe yet to be seen if that's a good or a bad thing, I guess.
Yeah, that we'll hold off on the judgment there. I never felt like there were too many characters, but when you go back and think of season 2, like the whole Gerhardt like clan alone had so many characters, but I felt like, most of them were done.
It wasn't too many, and most of them were interesting,
Yeah, so. Exactly. And then they all, spoiler alert, I won't say
it. Yeah. I feel like they do kind of maybe feel like now they need to dumb it down a little bit as far as the focus, because for people like me, did you see season 2 of True Detective? I don't know if you did.
I've not watched any season of that show because I don't like Matthew McConaughey.
He's not in season 2, but
I also heard season 2 was bad, so I didn't watch that one either.
Yeah, well, my issue with it, and maybe I'm just dumb, but it was too confusing. There was like, it got so complex, I could not follow what the hell was going on. Okay. So maybe, Fargo feels like we need to steer away from having too many characters and too many story threads, or we're going to end up like True Detective. We're going to scare people off.
I've never had, that's the one thing I love about the show, because I enter that territory a lot. Even in not Game of Thrones. I can understand Game of Thrones. But there's some shows where I'm like, what the hell? What's happening? Like Westworld. Yeah. It took a while to understand. But I've never felt that way with Fargo.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. They're focusing on fewer characters. So like, who are some of these characters? Tell me about them.
The brothers, and they are not twins, contrary to what all the recaps say. They are not twins.
They're just brothers.
Emmett is older by just a little bit, like 10 months or something like that.
Okay.
Than Ray. But Emmett is the successful one. He's been happily married for 25 years. He has a mansion in Eden Prairie, a successful parking lot business, which I don't understand how you get rich by parking lots, but I'm sure it happens. He's got kids. He is the man about town.
But isn't Emmett only successful by virtue of inheriting the stamps?
Not inheriting, apparently bamboozling Ray out of a stamp collection.
How? Oh, so like I didn't follow that. So Emmett was aware of the value of these stamps and Ray was not?
That's what's implied. Again, like Fargo, there's things they don't say outright. They're not upfront about everything. They
like
hint
Fargo
at things.
or in Fargo?
Like Fargo. The show. This is what the show does.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You're saying in the show Fargo.
Oh, yeah. In the show Fargo, they imply things before they outright say them. Sometimes they don't even come out and say things, but it's implied that somehow Ray was unaware what his collection was worth, but Emmett was, and so he bamboozled Ray out of it. That's what he used as his startup money, or just how he got his business started in the first place. And Ray is left with nothing but the Corvette he traded the stamps for, which he still drives.
Right. That's what I got from it too, was he used the stamp money to start the parking lot business. And I also didn't catch I never understood what kind of business he had. So I don't know how you figured that out. Was it just said flat out, I have a parking lot business? Or
that's in the promotion for the season. They called him the parking lot king of Minnesota.
Oh, okay. So it was like promo stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so Ray is a probation officer or a
parole officer.
Parole officer. Yeah, that's it. So he spends his day basically giving piss tests.
Yeah, not the most glamorous of jobs, but somebody's got to do it.
Right. And it is in this line of work that he meets his current girlfriend. What's her name?
Nikki Swango, which is the most badass name probably ever.
Is that her real name or is that like her alias?
That's her character's name. We could find out it's an alias later, but as far as we know, she's Nikki Swango.
Right. Okay. So they meet and we don't really get the full story on how they start dating, right?
He was her parole officer. They didn't mention what she was in jail for, but she's very smart. So I imagine it's like some type of fraud thing. I don't know.
Right. And she's obviously very savvy with the ways of crime, as we can see with, what happens at the end of the episode.
hell of a cribbage player.
Yeah, that too. So it's cribbage. I thought it was bridge. I thought it was bridge. I heard the
bridge?
word. I'm not sure. I heard the word bridge. Maybe she said cribbage. Like I totally admit I just caught whatever she said in passing and wrote it down as bridge.
I can't pretend to be an expert in either or to ever have played either once. But from what I remember, our grandpa had a cribbage board and it didn't look anything like what they were using. It had like pegs. I don't know where that comes into the game because I don't know what the game is. But like it was a wooden board with like a track almost around it and little holes, and you move the pegs. And I remember because on the back you'd slide it open and that's where you keep all the cribbage pegs. Like a little metal thing slid open, you put them away, and then they busted that out every time they wanted to play cribbage. But maybe cribbage has undergone an evolution. They use this newfangled board thing because I don't know what they're playing.
Right. Yeah. I honestly don't know. Anyways, they're playing some kind of card game, or that's like their thing, right? That's their
competitive bridge or cribbage players.
That's their bond. And another try to figure it out. Another subtle humorous moment that cracked me up was like they're celebrating their victory. They're like having a bath together, and then after a couple lines of dialogue, they're like, third place, that's like
third runner up.
That's like third runner up or something like that. And like the whole time you're thinking they actually like won the tournament, but they got third place and they're all stoked. I mean, that's subtle humor. It's great, man. I love it.
And can I just say, she is recently paroled out of jail. How does she have such a nice apartment?
That is her apartment. She's got a pretty nice apartment.
It's like fancy.
It wasn't that fancy though.
I mean, it was like above a business, which is maybe why they think it's not nice. But did you see the windows in that place?
I didn't think they were that nice. I guess I don't know my real estate very well.
I feel like, do you remember your apartment in Minneapolis?
You know what? When I lived with my girlfriend, her apartment kind of reminds me of my ex-girlfriend's apartment when I lived with her.
Okay, but she wasn't recently paroled from jail.
Not that I remember, no.
Maybe that you knew of. But I don't know. Things like that bug
Bother
me
you?
because
Well, they're probably not living in Eden Prairie. They're probably living in
you couldn't even
like
get an apartment like that in St. Paul
they're
either.
probably living in Coon Rapids or something.
Ain't nothing wrong with Coon Rapids.
I know, I'm just
There's nothing wrong with Coon Rapids.
yeah. All right. So that's them characters. So we also have Emmett's
Right hand man.
his right hand man, his sidekick. Do you have his name?
It's Cy Fetz or Cy Feltz.
Okay.
One of those. Cy. His
Nice.
name is
I'm
Cy.
I'm loving that character. He's
Yeah.
like your
His accent's good. His accent is good.
yeah, and he's like that kind of like sort of like pushover North Dakotan guy.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna come off as a wiener for a few episodes. And
I
then,
love his coat too. I just love the familiar touches of like you can be all dressed up, but you're still gonna have a huge parka on in a Minnesota winter. Like that's accurate.
yeah. So yeah, he's an interesting character. And then with those two and their crazy they owe money, I guess. They borrowed some money.
Apparently they fell on some hard times about a year back and they took out a loan, they thought, but apparently the business they took out a loan from was connected to the mob. There's always going to be a mob connection in every season here. I never knew the mob was so prevalent in Fargo, which is where the syndicate usually is in these seasons. But anyway, they sent someone to say that they were not giving a loan. They don't want the money back. They were just investing, which implies that now they can tell Emmett and his business partner or whatever he is what to do.
Right. So they basically gave them like $1 million, right? When they needed it.
Yeah.
And they saw it as an investment, like you said, where they can they sort of own the company now. They can tell them what to do.
They're probably going to start doing something with the drugs. As far as I know, mobs usually have a connection to drugs. That's my...
I believe he's quoted as saying, disguise our activities. So they're doing something where they need to hide what they're doing. So
how effing creepy was that guy, by the way?
Extremely creepy and extremely well played by Professor Lupin from Harry Potter.
How dare you? He was in Dragonheart first.
Oh yeah, that's right, Dragonheart. He was a
bastard redhead from Dragonheart.
He was a super creeper in that movie, so we know he
was like I hated him until he was Professor Lupin. Then I was like, I love him.
Right, so we know he can shift it into that gear if he wants to.
Which is where he's leaning right now, I think.
And that's where he's gonna be rocking that all season long. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his name is VM Varga, is that right?
Varga.
VM Varga.
Yeah.
And the company is called Narwhal. Is that
I guess so. I didn't quite catch that. I think
that'd be awesome.
That's a whale unicorn, right?
Yeah, if it was Narwhal, that's awesome. And what does he say? He's like, you're thinking this is a singularity, but it's more like a continuity.
Oh yeah, I didn't get it when he said it, but I get it now.
Yeah, now you get it.
The British accent threw me off.
Exactly. And he mentions they already have access to their software and their system. So
yeah, and that's when they have the creepy look on their face. Or
basically, it's scary. It's like when you realize, like, have you ever had I can't think of examples in my life, but I'm sure we've all had moments where when
you deal with the mob, as you do.
Well, as you do. Where you've run in with somebody who's like less than savory character, and sometimes that you can get scared just by like something they say, because it's just never to that level, thank God, but yeah, I think you know that feeling like when you get scared of somebody.
Yeah. So is that intentional? Like this is what that mob does, that syndicate does. They send someone who's clearly creepy to scare them into cooperating. Like, is that the goal? Or should they send somebody affable and likable?
No, I'm guessing they strong arm people, and I'm guessing VM Varga is the guy most of the time. Like he's the guy that does this. This is what he does.
Do you think he'll have stooges? Usually they're stooges. Like in the first season, you had the deaf guy and his friend or his interpreter, whatever. And then last season, you had the Kitchen Brothers. So there's got to be stooges. Where are they?
There will be stooges. There are stooges on the way. I guarantee.
They have yet to be introduced, but they will be here. Okay.
Unless VM Varga is just jam packed with creepiness and
but he seems
murderiness, and he does it all himself. He doesn't
have the muscle though. Like I can't see him body slamming somebody.
No, he looks like he could be pretty easily strong armed. So I don't know. He's gonna need some stooge.
Yeah, he needs stooges.
Yeah. So okay, I think we covered that section of characters for now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of Ray's parole officer. What do you call it? Parolees?
Parolees, yeah.
Yeah. One of his parolees is God, what's his name? Maurice, that's it. Yeah. Played by an actor. I don't know the guy's name, but I'm a fan of this guy. I watched the show *Halt and Catch Fire*, although I haven't finished the last couple episodes of the latest season. But I really loved that guy in that show, and I'm a fan of his. So it was really fun to have him in this episode. Unfortunately,
the only episode
didn't last very long. What do we know about Maurice?
That I don't know if he's ever not been high.
Yeah, he came out of the womb smoking a bowl.
Yeah, I think so. Like, he's just the kind of guy you want to smack because he can't put a sentence together because he's so baked.
Yeah, but no, they really nailed it with the whole like insights thing. He's like, I have
insights.
I'm like different than other people because I see things in a way, and I have these, I don't know what you call them, insights, I guess. Like, why did they put the morgue on the top, or why do they always put it in the basement? Why isn't it ever on the top floor?
Or like, do they shut down a whole JCPenney so the president can go buy his clothes? And then
the response is perfect because that's what it's always like with stoners. They like think they have this deep insight, but then a sober person is like, well, he just has a tailor come to his house and makes some clothes. He's like, oh yeah, shit.
That makes sense.
And they nailed the stoner thing. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I really liked his character. I thought they really nailed whatever he was. They nailed it.
Right.
And obviously he had the potential to be criminal, which he didn't understand at first. But then when shit went, south, like criminal Maurice came out, and it made sense of why this guy was in jail. Because he was so quick to blackmail and be like, okay, that's going to cost you $5,000. Like, you don't flip that switch unless you've done it many times before.
Right. And even before that, like our first glimpse of the typical Fargo style, which is like, oh, North Dakota has shady people in it too, but like they're so not used to it. They're not ever expecting it. It's so true. Like in North Dakota, everybody is really nice to each other all the time, and shit rarely goes wrong. Like that scene where he's in the is it a gas station or something, and he's asking he's like, let me see your map.
Oh yeah.
And the guy's like, we can't let you do that unless you buy something. He's like, let me see it. And he just basically like threatens the guy, like physically assaults him, and just takes it. And the gas station attendant or whatever immediately is like, okay, go ahead. Yeah. Like, because they never run into that. They're not used to it,
No, it's true.
Oh shit. Yeah. Like if my job, that shit happened, I would immediately be like, oh, yeah, take the money. Okay.
Go.
Like,
just be gone.
Yeah. Because we never see that. And that's when the criminal came out right there. So.
Yeah. And anyway. Another thing I love about Fargo, the movie and the show, is that you have all this like darkness and raw humanity, but then you always have this element of like fate or coincidence or just bad luck, like just weird shit that happens, like the him losing the note because he's an idiot, and then misremembering and going to Eden Valley instead of Eden Prairie and setting off what is apparently the story for the whole season.
Right, and that guy's name happens to be Dennis Stuss. What's the last name again? Stussy?
I have no idea. Like it's Emmett and Ray Stussy. I don't know whose house he went to.
He went to Dennis Stussy's, which is because on the mailbox it said Ennis Stussy, Enis Stussy.
They have the same last name?
Apparently. So maybe there's
the Stussy on the mailbox was Emmett's house.
Oh,
like
shit.
The big mansion. I think
they showed both. They showed Dennis Stussy's as well, and the D had snow on it.
Okay.
So it said Enis.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think that's where he got mixed up because he's baked.
He's baked, and he went to Eden Valley instead of Eden Prairie.
Yeah, but, and he thought that guy's name was Enos.
And I guess we didn't mention the whole thing was set into motion because Ray feels his brother owes him because he wants to buy an engagement ring for Nikki.
Right. Yeah.
And everything that's gone wrong in his life. He pins it all on his brother, and I'm sure his brother has a role in that, but he's laser focused on his brother and how his brother has wronged him instead of just like moving on and forgetting his brother and stuff like that. But so he hires Maurice, or bribes Maurice, to go steal the one stamp that Emmett has left and give it back to Ray.
Right. Yeah, and I'm on Ray's side if it's true that he was bamboozled by Emmett, because like screw that guy, man. Like bullshit.
I agree that is bullshit. But even if you get completely screwed by someone, there comes a point where it's like you just have to move on.
Yeah, revenge is sweet, Catie.
True. But
I hear you. I hear you clucking, big chicken.
Well, it's just it begins a domino of bad shit that's coming their way now.
And that is exactly what always happens on Fargo.
Yeah, remember Lester? Just kept killing his wives? That son of a bitch.
That dirty son of a bitch. Anyways, character, where are we at on characters here? So we covered.
Well, I think we should talk about the cop Gloria, because I believe she's connected to the crime that was committed at the wrong home.
Exactly. Yeah, they
didn't say it outright, but that's what you're led to believe by the end of the episode.
Father, right?
Stepfather.
Her stepfather. And then
He's a crotchety old bastard.
So that's the gay father's dad then?
No, it's her mother's husband, second husband.
Oh yeah, sorry, I get confused with that.
Yeah, it seems like her dad died first, her mother remarried, and then her mom died. So now she has to take care of her bastard stepdad.
And he's hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, he was good.
I'm really disappointed that the two funniest characters in the show.
Yeah, why would they do that? They must have a lot of faith in the funny that's to come. And
I mean, the rest of these characters must bring the humor later on. Because
I thought it was so cute when, it was cute and funny and also kind of like accurate how he like carved this wooden thing for his grandson. And then he's like I said, you can just throw it away if you don't want it. You know what I mean? Like, we've heard that before.
Oh, sure. The grandson doesn't give a shit really about it. But
he seemed like he thought it was kind of nice.
He wanted to go back for it. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But
he seems like a sweet kid.
But that would be accurate with today's youth, and I guess youth of all times. Like the older people think this is cool, but the kids like, this is dumb. Like why didn't I get a video game? And then when I'm old, I'll give my grandkids video games and they'll want something different. Something else will be cool.
Kids are assholes. That's just the lesson to be gleaned there.
There's just always something new.
But I didn't get that impression from this kid. I don't know this kid's name, but he seemed like he appreciated it. Like he wanted to know what it was, but his grandfather kept cutting him off and being like, "Oh, if you don't want it, just throw it away. I don't care."
Yeah. He's too drunk. I mean,
yeah. But Gloria is her name. We didn't see a lot from her, but she has a son. She has had a bastard stepdad, and she's divorced, and her ex-husband is now dating a man named Dale, right?
That sounds about right, Catie.
Got that straight?
I think so.
Straightened out there. But we didn't see a lot from them. I feel like she's going to be the Lou or the Molly of this season. The cop, the moral compass, the warm center of a cold season of Fargo. Right.
Yeah, I feel like you got to have these this type of show is like new territory in television. I feel like where you have different characters, different stories every season, but there's always elements that are anchored You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
in the video game BioShock, there's like this saying, there's always a city and there's always a lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the games are different, but there's elements that remain the same. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what it's like with Fargo, is like every season takes place in a different spot in a different time with different characters, but there's like these anchors, and one of those anchors is the protagonist as the police officer with the good heart. So at the core of it, you always have this like good wins out,
Mm-hmm.
even though evil wins out most of the time. It's like there's this one story thread that wins and it's good.
Yeah, there's been a couple of reviews I've read of this latest season that have said that the show Fargo has never been particularly good at like making you feel or like connecting you emotionally. And I like have to completely disagree with that read on things, because most of the characters, yeah, you feel kind of not attached to, you feel kind of cold towards them because you see the kind of things they're capable of. But because you always have that extremely like moral and warm, center of the show that you just cannot help but root for, like Molly and Gus in season 1, and Lou and all his buds, and his father-in-law, Ted Danson, I forget his character's name. Mm-hmm. Like you root for them so hard, and you just want them, their good, common decency to be the real victor. You know what I mean? Like we believe in common decency in this part of, and everywhere it does. It's not just Minnesota, North Dakota. But it's nice to come out of a season like this and feeling that is intact. And I've never felt like this show does a bad job of that.
Me personally, I can relate quite a bit to the more unsavory characters as well. Like, and I think everyone can. If they say they can't relate to the darker part of their personality, they're full of shit.
That's true.
And if they're lying, basically.
Yeah, like the Peggy, what was her name? Peggy, Kirsten Dunst in season 2.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you couldn't relate to the more of the crazy things that she did, and like the just scatterbrained things she said. Like you could also relate to her like just being dissatisfied with the mundaneness of her life, Like there's elements in all of these people that you can connect with. Hansi, like how he was, how people said at that bar were like super racist towards him, and then he just straight up murdered their asses. Like you can relate to that.
Would you not be tempted to murder everyone if you've been
treated
if you're
like already a murdering bastard like Hansi, there's no question I'd murder them.
Yeah, and like I can totally relate to Kirsten Dunst, and like I used to be like super into self-help and stuff, and like sort of like when you're dissatisfied with your life, like you try to turn to something that you think will just like make it all better, And I still support self-help. I believe that it has its place and stuff, but like I understand how it can be taken to an extreme, and like I don't know, I related to that aspect of her character, this sort of like longing to make her life more something she wanted it to be, and sort of getting like,
she could never quite put her finger on what she wanted it to be.
Right, exactly. So
that was the issue.
I think the show Fargo is loaded with stuff like that, with characters that are more real, but like maybe most people are afraid to admit that they can relate to people like that, And
even Ray, who's found himself in a shitstorm now, but it started out, just kind of innocently and feeling like he was wronged. And now he's he's connected to something that they can't.
And once again, there's another example of that anchor between the 3 seasons. There's always an aspect of this person whose intentions start out good, but they find themselves, as a criminal. Like they turn into a criminal.
Like Lester at the beginning of season 1, you were like, man, why is that guy bullying him? Why is his wife such a bitch to him?
His intentions were good, but then he accidentally flips that switch.
And that unleashed a sociopath in that season.
Exactly. But what an amazing character.
Yeah.
And funny and interesting, and very reminiscent of the movie in that first season, of course.
Definitely. I like both seasons equally, but
yeah, the more I think about it. So I'm curious,
now that we have this incident, which I guess we haven't detailed, but Maurice comes back having robbed the wrong place, which we believe is Gloria's stepfather's home, and probably killed him.
We don't really know for sure, but it's pretty obvious. Yeah, I mean, the way Maurice talks about it when he gets back, I mean, could it be anything else? He's like, there's an old man there, and I don't think there's like 99.9% clarity that that's what happened, right?
Right, because at the end of the episode, Gloria and her son are sitting on the porch, and there's cop lights going off, and clearly something bad happened. They just don't say what it is.
But anyway, the old man, you don't see the old man. The old man's obviously dead. They show him.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they showed his face, and it's like frozen or something. Almost like
was I like,
I don't know, you glazed out at that part, or you spaced out, because they definitely showed his face, and it was like it's almost like he shoved his face in the freezer and suffocated him in it or something. It's something like that, and then he just set him in the chair, so he's just like sitting there staring off into space. So yeah, he definitely died. He's been murdered.
Okay. So he goes back to Nikki.
My only question was they never showed him do it, so I was like, was he the one who did it? But I mean,
they'll go back to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, he did it.
For sure. And now he goes back. What did he even bring to Ray? Was it like a receipt? What the hell was it?
The stamps. He brought him stamps, but they were
not the right.
They were just stamps.
Like like postage stamps.
Yeah, he brought him stamps, and he didn't realize
what was Ray thinking, getting this guy to do this for him?
Yeah, I mean, that was dumb. He basically went with a guy. He's like, I know I can use this guy because, well, basically Maurice was not doing what he was supposed to be doing in his parole responsibilities.
Right, he failed.
He's like, I can use that as blackmail or leverage against this guy, get him to do something for me. That's what he was thinking.
But he didn't quite think it all the way through, did he?
Yep. Once again, a thread that runs through all the seasons of Fargo. Like bad decisions on who you trust and work with, because you're dumb criminals, basically, or like naive people trying to do crime.
To do something criminal. Yeah.
And then there's always someone who is a good criminal in there too, who can, like Swango in this.
She was good. She covered it up. She they killed Maurice. They killed him good by dropping an air conditioner on his head.
Yeah. Did you think that it was actually going to happen?
I thought for a second it was going to miss.
So did I, because I was like, this character is great. This actor is great. They won't kill him off in the first episode, but maybe I've heard he's been getting a lot more movie roles. So maybe he's almost like getting a little too big for this show
This show has Ewan McGregor in it.
Yeah, good point. Shit. Yeah, anyways. Didn't expect him to go out.
Neither did I. I was bummed. Yeah, I was bummed out.
I questioned whether or not the air conditioner was going to land on his head. But man, like,
quite a smash it made.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, oh no, because it's as soon as she grabs a screwdriver and goes for the air conditioner, you know what's coming.
Well, and the music too. Like in season 2, they used. I remember it was the end of an episode. It's where they find Peggy and her husband Ed, and there's like this drumline music, and it's so intense. And they've apparently brought that back for season 3 because they had some drumline music going, and it just made the build up all the more intense. And so I didn't expect it to be so splat, because it seemed like kind of a small air conditioner, but.
Yeah, I liked the way they did it, because I'm a little squeamish, and I was a little afraid they were going to do a close-up on his head, and his head was going to explode, and I was like, oh,
like
God.
In Hot Fuzz. I love that movie, but the part where they drop like the gargoyle on the guy's head and it like splits open.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
I can't watch that. I was afraid we were going to get something like that, but.
Yeah, but instead it just smashes his entire body, so.
Yeah.
Better, right?
Takes care of the whole thing, and then Nikki immediately says, you need to get out. You're his parole officer. I will take care of this. She's a seasoned criminal.
Also, the big one for me, don't forget the stamps. Because if he left the stamps, there's evidence that he's somehow connected to the murder at that other house.
Yep.
And also, I don't know, it's probably the best move to immediately call the police and say it was an accident, but I mean, it's probably the best move. There's going to be an investigation anyway.
They'll know whose apartment it was from.
Yeah, there's going to be an investigation anyway. You might as well act like you did the right thing and like, oh, it was an accident. Like, please come help or whatever,
But it happens all the time in true crime shows where the murderer calls the cops. Like,
and something's always off in their recording of the message. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She was good, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's going to be something that incriminates them down the line. I don't know. By the end of the season.
I've been wondering too if the fact that there's somebody who looks exactly like him might come into play. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and we've yet to get into Emmett's, Emmett's going to have his own mess of crime going on. That hasn't even started. That hasn't even started yet. So when that starts, things are going to get real tangled up.
Oh boy. There might be no Stussy brothers by the end of this.
Yeah, you're right though. The fact that they look exactly alike is going to be a huge component, I think.
And hate each other.
Yeah, of how things get twisted.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be fun.
But you already had the one brother taking the fall for the other in season 1. They can't do that storyline again.
Yeah, they can't do that. What did you think of Ewan McGregor's accent?
I was impressed. I only heard the Scottish slip out like once.
Thank you. Yes, you heard it. When he's doing Emmett.
Yeah, when he was Emmett at the party, I think it slipped out a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, he sounds Scottish.
Yeah,
like that whole scene. I was like, yeah, he's not doing it.
I think he's better as Ray, but I think, I was impressed that it was as good as it was. Because how do you do a North Dakota accent from a Scottish accent? I guess Martin Freeman was British. It's not that different, but it is different.
Did you think Martin Freeman's accent was good?
His was more exaggerated. Like William H. Macy, it reminded me a lot of his from the movie.
Yeah, his was really over the top, but I thought it was pretty good.
But yeah, his British accent didn't come out. But
right, yeah. I wouldn't rank Ewan McGregor very high on a good job on the accent.
I rank very few people high. Whose accent I love? It's less
so with Ray. It's less so with Ray. Ray wasn't that bad.
I think in his interviews, I think he likes playing Ray better.
He's trying to separate the two, I think, too.
Yeah, which is smart because they have no interaction. They're not the same people.
Right.
But whose accent I loved was in season 1. The guy who plays Saul in Breaking Bad.
Oh, he's in that?
Yeah, he's so good in season 1.
Is he like a cop or a sheriff in that one?
Yeah, he's a cop. He becomes the chief.
Right, yeah.
The other chief gets murdered. And even though it should have been Molly.
Yeah, his is nice and subtle and clean.
I mean, it's not super subtle, but it seems he's so earnest in the way he talks. It just reminds me of that seems like an authentic accent.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's been a while since I haven't watched that season
since it was on.
Maybe 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I binged them both just this winter. So.
Mm-hmm. What else can we talk about here? So Ray, does Ray not drink at all? I noticed that Ray dumped his champagne into the plant before he talked to his brother. Was that just because he wanted to be on his toes?
I think it's because he hates his brother and he wants to waste his money.
Oh, okay. That could be. I didn't think of that. That's good.
That's what I read into it.
Right.
He was disgusted.
Okay. Let's see. What else I got here? You got anything?
No, I'm interested to see where the season goes. That's the nice thing about Fargo is you can't predict.
Right.
It's not like Survivor where you can theorize like what's going to happen. Like you just have to wait.
Yeah, we have no clue where this is going.
No clue.
One more thing we need to talk about. What the hell is going on with the intro of this episode?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I thought I read one recap that said the fact that it was a case of mistaken identity shouldn't be forgotten, maybe? Or maybe that's the key? Because the guy who was being interrogated for murdering his wife clearly didn't murder his wife.
But the thing is, they didn't care.
Right.
Like, they just wanted someone to pin it on.
Yeah.
Was that the point of that story that's going to tie into this story?
As far as I know.
That's your take on it for now.
Yeah, I love Fargo. I could have done without that. I hate when they do that. I hate like Tarantino does stuff like that. I hate it.
It's a little pretentious.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? This is Fargo and we're starting in East Berlin 22 years ago. We can't just start where we are.
But I don't know. I like artistic ideas like that, and I like it's almost poetic kind of.
I'll see what the payoff is, but
I do like that. But yeah, there is a point where it becomes pretentious, and you're like, do we really need to go there? Can we just let it be?
I was nothing but pleased with what came after it, but I didn't care for that part of it.
Sure. And was this an example? I'm still trying to figure out what catch-22 really means. Is this an example of a catch-22 that this guy, he can't tell the truth because like if he tells the truth, he's saying the state is lying. And if he doesn't tell the truth,
he goes to jail.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a catch-22, right? Does that work?
You know better than I would. I've never read that book.
Well, I'm about halfway through it, and I've been reading it for like months.
Can't be that good then.
Well, I'm just not a big reader. I just especially like that's a pretty intellectual book too, like the comedy.
I don't like to read intellectual books. I like to read books that are good.
It's not that it's not good. I'm just a slow reader. And I don't read much, but
I used to be the kind of person who read books because like you're supposed to read those books. You know what I mean? Like
that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm like, I have to read this.
You're supposed to read Catch-22. And then you read them and you're like, my life is not altered by this monumental piece of literature. I'm going to go read Harry Potter and you can leave me alone.
Yeah. Also, I think there is something to be said about like times change. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
This book doesn't speak to me anymore. There's, maybe Harry Potter is not the best choice, but maybe there's something more modern. Harry Potter's a great choice if you haven't read it before, but
right. I've read, there's certain books that do speak to you over. Like I've read Jane Austen's books. For some reason, those worked for me, but like some of that heavier stuff.
Yeah, it's different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
Whatever. But yeah, I think that might be an example of a catch-22 though. This guy basically damned if you do, damned if you don't is kind of the easiest. It's the dumbed down way to explain what that is. But
maybe
I need to learn myself on that.
Maybe that's Ray. He's damned if he tries crime and he's damned if he doesn't.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the connection.
I think it's going to be revealed later. Sure. Do you think they'll come back to this thing or is it just a little opening episode vignette?
God, yeah, it could go either way, honestly.
I don't know.
Like either they'll come back to it at the end of the season or it'll be visited at the beginning of every episode. Probably not. It's probably a one-time thing, I think, to make a point.
That's fine. I'll be more okay with it if it is.
Yeah. Okay. Anything we missed? Anything you want to talk about?
Probably, but I've only watched the episode once and
yeah. It's going to be tough to find time.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to watch it twice before we talk about it, because then we can be like wizards.
It's like with Westworld, like you don't get it all the first time.
No, but I thought we shared some interesting thoughts, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the podcast.
I enjoyed the episode. It sucks these are such short seasons, but I guess that's kind of how TV is now.
Do we have any ideas for weekly ends to the season or ends to the episode that we want to do? Or
I guess what do we
how about like who, if somebody gets whacked next week, who do you think it'll be?
Well, I hope nobody we've met gets whacked. Jeez, we already lost two.
Or just dies. If anybody dies next week, who's it going to be?
Of characters we've already met?
Yes. Or characters we haven't met, if you can actually.
Well, it's hard to predict what character that we haven't met will die.
Well, then make one up.
Most likely candidate to get murdered at this point would probably be Emmett?
No, I got Emmett's sidekick.
Oh, I hope not. I like him. I don't want Emmett to die. No one's gonna die yet. It's fine. We already lost two characters. I think around episode 5, more characters will get murdered.
Yeah, I think the next one to go though is Emmett's sidekick.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
He's
prediction.
ripe for the picking. That's true. Yeah.
He's so like ready. He's ready.
Yep. Come and murder me. He looked more terrified than Emmett did.
Yeah,
The prospect of being in bed with the Narwhal Company and VM Varga.
Yes. All right. Cool. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Fargo Recap Podcast at TV is Our Real Mom. If you want to, I guess, follow us on Twitter.
Come on, give it more of a build up than that.
Yeah,
if you
sorry.
want to.
No, you must. You must follow us
on Twitter.
On Twitter at TV is Our Real Mom. And please like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And
that's right.
We'll see you guys next week for the next episode. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.
Good night. Go put on your